Okay, we are here. We've got our special guest, Michelle, Amber Rose, and Dr. Chris are here.
I know, how exciting.
This is really exciting because there's so much information here. And it's so funny. You two together, Dr. Chris and Amber Rose, you have a wealth of information, but you seem like such an odd combination. How'd you guys meet?
It's an unlikely pairing.
It is.
We actually met, Dr. Chris was on my talk show,
yes.
the Amber Rose show, the first season. And we met over lunch, kind of like doing like a interview, I guess.
It was the strangest thing in the world. I don't know what you were told it was, but they were like, we want you to meet Amber. She's doing this project. And I wasn't really sure what they were like wanting or doing. And I remember thinking in my head, like, man, what am I going to say to her? Apples and oranges. And you were intimidating when I sat down.
Thank you.
But you're both from Philly.
We are. Well, what wound up happening is as we were filming this project, we just kept going, yeah, and like fist bumping, and we're like, oh my God, same page. It just worked.
Yeah.
For sure. And we fell in love, and now he's my work husband. Right. I'm his work wife. And we just, yeah.
Well, because, Amber, you have the street credibility, and you have...
Thanks, bro.
No, it's true. I mean, you're hood.
She's a down-ass bitch.
She's a down-ass bitch.
I'm spicy.
Yes. And of course, Dr. Chris, you're more of you come from a clinical background. And actually, it's a perfect pairing. You know what I mean?
Thanks.
It's amazing. So, but sex is usually what you guys are talking about.
It's true, yes. So basically, I give answers based off what I lived and my life experiences. And then, like you said, he gives the clinical answer to the question. Because I've
never had sex before.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But it's different because we run into questions where I'm like, shit, Dr. Chris, I don't know how to answer that.
Yeah.
And so crazy thing, not really crazy, but so we had a caller last week, and his name was Nick, and he was transgender, female to male. Okay. And, he was kind of like, yeah, I'm transitioning and I'm having an open relationship now with my girlfriend. And I just want to be more comfortable with my body as a trans man. And I want to know.
Being eroticized.
Yeah. And I want to know how to do that. And I was like, fuck, I don't know. And then Dr. Chris was like, you should watch porn pertaining to people with your body type
that doesn't fetishize.
Right. And and then look at that porn and see that people eroticize that, and they like that. They're in love with that body, and the female to male transgender.
Well, I say this to people with all kinds of bodies,
and
that
it was
they feel
awesome.
Aren't acceptable. I say, one of the powerful things of porn, there's a lot of flaws in it for sure, but one of the positives that I prescribe it to my patients is because it's a way to see your body eroticized and desired by the people in the film, by the fact that it's even produced socially. And you have to find the right forms, because there are forms of pornography where certain alternative bodies are still being oppressed or marginalized or fetishized and not seen as a whole person. But there are beautiful production companies now making feminist porn, trans positive porn, queer porn. And it's really in service of making people feel better and okay in their alternative queer body.
Right.
Well, we're pro porn.
I know, Michelle, you're a big porn advocate.
I love it. I think, one of the first things when we were on the RuPaul show in '96, we did a few porn related episodes. We did the awards. We had a lot of then porn stars on the show. And my husband obviously was a big fan. And I was a big fan. And it was one thing that we enjoyed to watch together for obvious reasons. I think there's a lot of things in this world that taboos need to be broken about a lot that I don't understand. Like when people have an STD, why not fucking talk about it? This is how we bring out that it's okay. Shit happens, people. If you learn to protect yourself, you won't have it. So you get the message on and on, things like that. Why is porn taboo? These are people that are for the most part. Again, these are people that are choosing. They're adults.
Yeah.
They're choosing to do this with their life. This is what they want to do. They're really good at it.
Because
why can't we celebrate it?
Sex isn't seen as legitimate. It's not seen as a legitimate area of academic study. One of my PhDs is in human sexuality and sexology. That is mocked by people.
What, your PhD?
Well, that is an area of academic interest and value. They think that's a joke.
Who's legitimizing it? Why do we care?
White, hetero, cisgendered.
Fuck them.
Capitalist
Well, I mean,
men.
that's the thing. It's, and I had a lot of porn stars at my Slut Walk this year because, listen, at the end of the day, right, it doesn't necessarily have to be something that you will do. I will never do porn.
Right.
It's just not my thing, but I enjoy watching it. So why would I then, be like, ugh, she's a porn star. She's fucking gross. But I would enjoy the moment while I'm masturbating and then judge her or him after the fact.
And guess what?
Or even judge it all.
Right.
All work is body labor.
Right.
Every job requires selling your body. And I posted that on social media. I'm like, all jobs require selling your body. People are like, even as a writer, I'm like, yeah, you're selling your energy, you're selling your fingers. Like no matter what you do, my job as a therapist, I'm selling my central nervous system and my emotional limbic system.
You absolutely are.
Right.
And you're taking all that information in throughout your sessions. And I want to ask you about that too. And but in a minute, but I still want to stay on this porn thing because the way that our culture minimizes people, sex workers, and there's a low value on the people themselves. But there's a high value when people are using in their personal lives. There's that dichotomy that happens. Why is that? What is it? Our culture is our Puritan background?
I think people are just uncomfortable with themselves and they have to project negativity. So it's like you use porn at your convenience and then you judge it afterwards.
Right. When it works for you.
Right.
Yeah. So
And it's unfair.
correct. So it's up to us as people who are outspoken to lead that movement into saying, if you like it, there's nothing wrong with it.
Can you? Because
No.
listen, people do nothing without a payoff. And there has to be a payoff for people to continue marginalizing sex workers and just sex in general. There has to be a payoff. What is the root problem as to why people I've seen many porn stars try to make it as a pop star. A few have crossed over, but when their huge audiences, I see them in a different light. They don't support them,
because they're uncomfortable with themselves, right? One of my fantasies is to get gangbanged, right?
Yeah.
I will probably never do that. I won't bring myself to do that, but I'll watch a porn where a girl's getting gangbanged and I'm like, that's fucking tight. Like, that's so cool.
Plenty to choose from.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But people like myself that want to get gangbanged, right? They won't say it out loud, right? That'll just be in their head, but then they'll project the negativity like, ew, this bitch gets gangbanged. She's gross. But internally, if you're a girl, right, and you can have Trey Songz, Drake, all your favorite artists or celebrities, right? And get gangbanged,
right.
You're gonna say no.
Wait, here's the biggest thing. Here's the biggest thing. Sex is
now.
always suspect. And that's what it is. I think this might be a sloppy, lazy theory, but I think it's the puritanical religious component.
Of course
but
it is.
sex is always suspect. So if I said to you guys, oh, on Sunday I watched 4 hours of football, you're like, cool. If I said I spent 4 hours watching Real Housewives, you're like, cool. If I said I masturbate and watch porn for 4 hours, you're like, holy shit, something's wrong, sex addict, porn addict. If I said I traveled to go shopping, cool. If I said I went to France to go look at art, cool. If I said I went to France to have sex with different kinds of people, sex addict, problem, red flag.
Right.
Sex is always suspect.
Well, anything is a problem if you do too much of it, whether it be shopping, watching football,
Real Housewifing.
right, or having sex. And I think it goes back to what you were saying. Anything could be viewed as marginalized or wrong if we allow it, and going back to puritanical ways. Right. So if you're saying that about gangbang, you could say that about being gay. You could say that about anything where inside maybe you have a fantasy to be with another woman or a man, but on the outside you're going, ew, it's not it's disgusting. You are a sinner. You are a blasphemer. You need to go to hell.
No,
when I see girls get gangbang, I'm like, damn, she's lucky.
You're in touch with what you know and love.
I wish I could do that.
But I try,
well, you can, honey, you can.
But Rue's question about representation, like I try as a doctor to use it as a possible intervention. So someone might say, I won't mention their names, but I've been on some daytime medical style talk shows.
The doctors. Just kidding.
And they're talking about body image. Yeah, we ain't saying no names. Long history there. And they're talking about body image. And I was the only one that was like, and a way to work on body image is what we talked about earlier. To watch pornography that mirrors back all the doctors' crickets.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's about image.
Right.
It's about, it all goes back to that wanting to be not straight in the sexual way, but straight and narrow. I do the right thing. I know, Republican.
But also, I think there's a vulnerability when people know what your sexual preferences are, is whether it be a gangbang or a whatever, they have an in on you. And I think people don't want to expose that vulnerable Achilles heel and that type of intimacy, and that because they would feel that the world has the up on them. So I think that's why it's easier to say, not have crickets and not really go there, because you don't want to leave yourself wide open to that. And the same is true with all the porn stars, these great, beautiful porn stars, huge stars, no pun intended, who deserve, they are excellent at what they do.
They are.
But then they have such a short-lived career, and then their own public will shun them if they were walking down the street and they need any help.
Because it goes back to the same original question. It's still taboo.
It is.
It'll always be taboo. And like you were asking, but can we change? No, we can't. But the people who are vocal about it, like Amber, like myself, about there's nothing wrong with liking pornography. If you like it, do it. The people just speak about it when people ask,
But
that's an inroad.
Part of the attraction to porn, though, is the fact that it's taboo. And I don't know if people are willing to let go of that taboo or the judgment, because that's fetishized too.
You nailed it, because I was talking to someone who does naked yoga. And they were like, it's a space where everyone's naked and it's not sexual. And I was like, I'm not in. Yeah. And she was like, well, why? And I said, because I want nudity to be arousing and sexual. Yeah. I don't ever want to see naked bodies and not be turned on, because then you're taking away eroticism from me. Right? When I'm dating someone, this is me. When I'm dating someone, I don't want walking around naked all the time. I want to still get turned on by seeing certain body parts.
Okay, but that's you.
For sure.
But
that's why I would never go to a naked yoga class. I don't want to have to hide
what about
my
a nude
erection.
beach?
I would go for sexual reasons. And I'd own it.
Oh, okay.
I'm not here to read a magazine.
I think a lot of people do think like you, but I think a lot of maybe more women think the way I do. Whereas a nude beach, I don't go there and start dripping all over the place. I go to the nude beach and I just lay out nude because I don't want any tan lines.
Right. Well, you were talking about that earlier, because you were talking about the difference between men and women and how they. I grew up in a house with all women, and I had to learn later in life that sex and love were two different things.
They are.
But as a man, also, if you're naked, I'm going to be thinking about sex.
Correct. Whereas women are different. I was saying earlier before we turned the mics on. Women, not all women, because I am not one of them, but the majority, I can tell you if I have 100 friends, 99 think they need to have some sort of emotional attachment to a man or a woman to have sex with them.
I'm going to throw a wrench in that. Ready for this? It's going to blow your mind.
Whereas men can just fuck.
There's a study done, I think it was 2008. Lisa Diamond, she did work on female sexual fluidity. They put what they call a vaginal plasmograph in the women's vagina. It's basically a clear tube that measures blood flow and arousal levels. And it showed that women are often aroused without realizing it. Because unlike men, where I can see my erection, I'm like, I'm hard. Women can't pick up on the subtle arousals.
Well, what good is that then?
And they were turned on by watching porn with women, porn with men. Regardless of what they said their orientation was, they were showing arousal to everything, including animals having sex.
Yeah, but sex...
That is fascinating.
But sex is primal. Sex is primal no matter who does it.
But my point is, you were worrying about your tan lines. You might still be a little drippy.
Right.
Maybe.
Can I just say something real quick? It's no secret. I was a stripper for a long time. Best time of my life, by the way. I miss it. I miss the dollars falling on my skin every day. I miss it. I miss it like a motherfucker. But, the misconception that I get, right, is that, I was hypersexual because I was on stage and my tits were out and I was dancing. But it really wasn't that for me at all. So every time, people think like I'm in the strip club, so I'm looking at all these guys and I'm like, God, I want to fuck him. I want to fuck him. I want to fuck him. But really I was like, he got money. He don't got any money. He's broke as fuck. He's about to spend this shit. That's what I was just thinking about money.
If they saw your thought bubble, they would die.
It's true.
That is wild.
I worked in a strip club too. And what you're doing is you're thinking, he just bought the Moet.
Okay.
He bought the cheap stuff.
He just got all them dollars. Okay.
Who's in champagne rooms?
I'm about to go over there.
That's what you're thinking.
But
exactly.
what you're describing too is power. It's a very powerful position to do. Because I lived in a neighborhood where there were lots of girls who were sex workers on the street, and they weren't making a lot of money, but they were there because the validation and the power, because they don't get that kind of power in other parts of their lives.
Right.
So, but on that corner, they could get the power. And a lot of these girls, they were, transsexuals or drag queens or whatever. But it was a power thing.
Yeah.
It was, and power is sexy. You think about Melania Trump. Why is she there?
Well, we know why she's there.
Well, she's there for the money.
power.
That's it.
And the
'cause
power.
she-
And she can get things done
Yes.
through this guy.
Except for wear a dress.
I don't know about that.
What do you think?
I think initially, maybe, yes. I think now, being the first lady, I don't necessarily think that she wanted that. And I don't think that she wants to be there.
I agree.
And I think that she is now put into a situation where she can't be like, listen, I want to be out, so I'm going to go over here and kind of do my own thing.
I didn't ask for this.
So she's
Right.
hostage right now.
So she's held hostage almost, well, actually, yeah, she's held hostage because now her husband is the president of the United States. So now she can't be like, well, shit, I was going to divorce his ass. But now I can't because now I'm in this situation where
Right.
I have no other choice but to be here.
You could see
Right.
it in her face.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
she
could
looks
see it.
miserable.
She
Yeah.
does look miserable. Hey, we have Amber Rose and Dr. Chris here. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back after this. A lot of companies talk about how hard it is to find qualified employees. Well, ZipRecruiter is the solution. In fact, it makes it so easy for companies to find qualified employees to work for them.
Yeah, it's actually super easy. But I know, being a boss, how hard it must be because you go through people.
Sure.
Constantly that chair is being,
The swiveling and changing and revolving.
Exactly.
And
that's where I was going to say evacuated, but it was revolving. That's what I was looking for. And that's exactly what happens. It's really difficult right out there. But ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to 100 plus job sites with just one click. Then the powerful technology efficiently matches the right people
Yes.
to your job better than anyone else, which is weird because when I looked for judge on a television show, RuPaul's Drag Race seemed to be up there.
Isn't that amazing?
Looking.
Well, that's why ZipRecruiter is different. Unlike other job sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them. In fact, over 80% of jobs posted on ZipRecruiter get a qualified candidate in 24 hours.
I mean, say it again, 24 hours.
24 hours.
No juggling emails or calls to your office. Simply screen, rate, and manage candidates all in one place with ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use dashboard. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by businesses of all sizes to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. That word immediate is really powerful.
But you need someone right now because, in fact, the longer you don't fill that position, you're losing money.
That's
so
it.
you want to get that position filled immediately. That's why ZipRecruiter is so brilliant.
So brilliant. And right now, our listeners can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free. That's right. We said it free. That's the way that we are. So
love it.
Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/Ru. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RU. One more time to try it for free. Go to ZipRecruiter.com. See if that's what happens with my one last time. ZipRecruiter.com/RU. Good luck getting that candidate. We know you will.
We are back with Dr. Chris and Amber Rose talking about everything. And I just wanted to ask Dr. Chris quickly, you're a sex therapist. What do you do, which is like being a medium? It's like you take on all this energy. What do you do to sort of do that Karen Silkwood wash, to sort of wash all those people's energy off your body?
Yeah, it's such
out of your consciousness.
Yeah, and it's needed. And I think people don't realize that they work in professions like mine, how needed it is. I have a couple things that I do. Number one, I drive home and music is really powerful for me. Music is a really powerful transition out of one space into another space. So I listen to certain kinds of music when I drive home. Right now, I'm a big fan of like Bhakti, more devotional based music. It's probably another podcast.
Crickets.
What's that?
I don't even know what that means.
I don't know what that is.
And then I also I go home and I always shower right away when I change. Yeah. And there's something, and you could probably talk to this as well, something about changing your clothing, which helps shift your identity and to see yourself in a different space. And the past year and a half, I've been focusing a lot on chanting and meditation.
It's like taking off your work clothes and getting into your home clothes.
For
It
sure.
changes.
Getting out of my drag, my work drive.
Yeah.
Because it is a persona. When people see me on television in my doctor role, they're like, wow, you talk different, your posturing's different. I'm like, it's drag, it's a performance.
You're a professional.
I'm giving the world what they're supposed to see as doctor.
Yeah. And Amber, I'm sure it's the same for you. People stop you in airports and at the grocery store or whatever you do. And they do that. You find that people are putting their stuff onto you or asking you for advice as a therapist, because that's become your role also now.
Yeah. Literally everywhere I go. Girls come up to me, they cry, they tell me that they were raped, that they were molested, that they were sexually assaulted. And, you know, I just hug them and tell them that, you know, everything's going to be okay, that you're strong, but I'm not a licensed practitioner. I'm not a doctor. So because we do the podcast together and I give advice to people, they think that I'm like a therapist, and I'm not. I can only, you know, give my good energy to them when I hug them and let them know that I'm here for them. And that, that I'm sorry to hear that. But I really, sometimes I'm in situations where, like I said earlier, I kind of need Dr. Chris on my side, because I don't know how to handle certain situations, although I have a Slut Walk.
Which happens what time of year?
It's every October, which is my birthday month. So we have Slut Walk.
It is?
It is.
She's a Libra.
Wait, you guys didn't know
I'm
that?
a Libra.
Oh, she's Libra. I'm Scorpio. I'm Scorpio
So you're
also.
I'm
Yeah, end of
October
November,
21st.
End of October.
27th.
Yeah.
Excuse you, Dr. Chris.
So is the Slut Walk the same date every year?
So it's the first Saturday of October every year. So this is the third annual one. The first one was very grassroots. I literally just asked all my rich friends for money, and they came through. And I actually wrote that in my book, How to Be a Bad Bitch. You can go get it online right now, or on audio. But I wrote in my book that the worst thing that someone can say to you is no. So you should just ask, and maybe you'll get what you want. And that's exactly what I did. I went out and I asked everyone for money to get it off the ground, because it's a nonprofit. I put in my own money. We had 2,500 people show up, men and women.
First one?
Yes. The second one was last year. We had over 8,000 people show up.
Yay.
We had Beats by Dre as a sponsor. We had Pepsi as a sponsor. And a lot of other sponsors as well.
And it was one of the most transformative venues I've ever been a part of. I used to think that like the New York City club scene was the most liberated, free. But the Slut Walk was so powerful, especially as someone like a cisgender male, where I'm watching these people of all kinds explore their sexuality, different types of bodies, topless and naked. And it was I don't even know how to put it into words. It was really, 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 really powerful.
It was amazing.
How far do you walk? I mean, what's the
So we're worried about the exercise of it.
Well, so basically this year we're expecting over 10,000 men and women to show up for Slut Walk this October. And so what we do is we walk about 2 blocks. We protest. Last year, my sign said, "Fuck fame, make movements." The year before that, it said, "Strippers have feelings too." And this year, I don't know what I'm going to put on my sign yet. But we walk 2 blocks, and then we do the protest, right? We go into the venue, which the past 2 years have been Purging Square, which is a big open space in downtown LA. And we had Trina perform last year.
Hey.
Okay. We had all kind of vendors, about safe sex. We had HIV and AIDS testing. We had, tampons, pads, anything that really had to do with feminism.
Yeah. Was Planned Parenthood there?
No, I don't think so. We had AIDS Healthcare Foundation there. Dr. First really doesn't like them that much.
Well,
but
yeah, I know. Is it because of the LA Times article?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot going on there.
Yeah, so I kind of didn't know about that before. But shout out to them. They do a lot for Slut Walk. I will say that.
Well, it's very important. What moved you to do this thing? What was it? Did something happen where you felt hurt? Your heart hurt because people were shaming you? Is that how the impetus for this?
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like because I was a dancer, right? And then I became famous, it was like, but you're still a stripper. You're not but a stripper. You're not smart because you were a stripper.
People just trying to keep you down.
Yeah. But then Jay-Z was a drug dealer, and he's like, he had the hustle as well. So it's cool
He's
to
a man, honey.
Yeah. But it's cool to like, you know, give people drugs and they could possibly overdose and die, but I'm shaking my tits, making money, and it's a problem. And I wasn't fucking with that. And so, and then, you know, my ex, Kanye, he used to like, you know, people would be like, well, he made you famous and my look made me famous, right? And of course, being in that light, it brought me, it was a stepping stone. It brought me to the light so people could see me.
But you're still here without him.
It's true. And I'm also here without my ex-husband as well.
Yeah.
And so what happened was when I got divorced, I see my ex-husband out with like all these women. And they're like, yeah, where's fucking mad bitches, man? Fuck Amber, you don't need her. And I was going through the worst time of my life, going through a divorce. And I would be seen with a male friend, and it's like, you're a fucking hoe, you're fucking everybody, you're this. And
Double standard.
I'm like, you know what? This is complete bullshit. Now I'm going to have a slut walk pertaining to double standards, sexual assault, rape culture. And because I know that I'm dealing with it on a different scale, but I know there's girls in regular neighborhoods that deal with this every day and they don't have anyone speaking up for them. So I'm going to be that person.
It's amazing.
I took a lot of punches, Ru. I mean, a lot of scrutiny, a lot of criticism. And I tell my girls all the time that I will take the punches for you guys so we can move forward and make a change in society and fucking own that shit. And so now I put up memes on my Instagram where I'm like, you know, everyone's out getting fingered and I'm just home, you know, just chilling in the house watching movies. But
this is why she's important and I love you.
I love you too.
Because you actually are using your platform for social change.
Sure.
Not just to rake in more money in cars.
Yeah.
Well, listen, that's the misconception is that, you know, over 8,000 people showed up to your slut walk. So you're just like doing it for money. Bitch, I don't make fucking money off a nonprofit.
Right.
I'm not going shopping after that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And honestly, we're not profitable yet.
Right.
It's only the
you don't
second
need
year.
to explain that to anybody because at the end of the day, you're doing something for political climate to change the way people think, hopefully. You're not doing it for money, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what they think.
Yeah.
It's jealousy. That's where it comes from. Obviously, you know that.
Right.
Is it from more women or men that you get that the shame comes from?
Both.
Yeah. Is it equal? Equally?
I would say it's equal. And that's the thing, you know, men don't understand and they don't want to understand. They don't even want to look into it. Women are just like, well, why you promoting girls to be hoes? I'm promoting you to have sex when you want to have sex and own it and not feel ashamed of it.
Right.
It's not for everybody. It doesn't have to be
not
for
for everyone.
everybody. Correct.
Have you heard the term a slut is a woman with the morality of a man?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. But really what slut, the word slut, hoe, whore, it's really just a derogatory word to put down women for being comfortable in their sexuality. We're supposed to be ashamed of that. You know, we're supposed to be like, oh, you know, I'm going to make him wait 90 days.
Right.
And then if he, you know, if my parents like him, then maybe I'll have sex. But, you know, it's like, fuck when you want to fuck. Who cares?
The way the men weigh in on it, which is always interesting, is they talk a lot about their daughters. Like, what kind of message is that giving to my daughter? Am I supposed to? And it's like,
your
that toxic
daughter's gonna
masculinity. Yeah, that you think as a father, you own your child, especially your daughter's sexuality, like it's yours.
Right.
I have 2 teenage daughters, and personally, I have taught them about sex very young because it's happening very young. They knew about that stuff in elementary school. That's why now they're educating kids in 5th grade. Now, when we learned about it in freshman year, maybe 8th grade growing up, right?
Yeah.
So now, you know, it's on there. I know what's going to happen. I just have to teach them about safe sex, you know, protecting themselves. I like to teach them about emotion and relationships and maybe being with somebody a little bit longer for their first time at least. But me, I was always the, you know, test drive the first night type of girl. And I have nothing but positive things to say about that. Because, you know, if you can't test drive it before you buy it, what's the point?
What's the point?
Okay,
So-
we talk about that all the time.
It's true. So the point is, this goes back again to our original conversation on the callback about this puritanical thing, because who's to say that somebody who likes to have sex and be vocal about it is any less than the person who waits 90 days to have sex?
Well, and if you don't, you end up in my office as a client because people think if I love you enough and I'm attracted enough, that sex will just work itself out. And it doesn't. As we said, sex and love are two different things.
Right.
You can love someone and not have sexual chemistry or compatibility.
Right.
And I cannot create that for you.
Well, you know what always happened with me? I'll be honest. I was always blessed with beauty.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'll be honest.
It's true.
I was.
You are gorgeous.
Thank you. You are as well.
Go on.
But I was blessed with beauty, right? And a very curvaceous body. My tits are real, by the way.
Oh my God, I'm so jealous.
And so what happened is that people would always assume that I was extremely sexual and I was into all these,
Did you develop that young?
very young, very, very
That's
young.
tough.
And so, and Dr. Chris knows me very well. I'm actually not that girl at all. I'm like a serial monogamous. I love relationships. I love passion. I love love, closeness.
You don't like hookups.
I don't like hookups. I never have. I'm not into one night stands. I'm not into casually having sex with someone. It's just not my thing. I don't judge people that do that. I actually say, listen, if that's your thing, you should do it and do it in this way. Protect yourself, like you said, and own it, you know? But it's so funny that because of my body and my looks, if I have a male friend or I'm just hanging out with someone, people automatically assume I'm either fucking him or I've had a million threesomes and orgies. I had one threesome last year and
We had to do a therapy session.
It was hard. I didn't enjoy it.
Well,
it was very
they're
hard
not
for
fun.
me. I
They're
woke
not
up the
fun.
next day. I felt bad about myself. I felt dirty. I felt like I did it because I was 33 years old and I've never had a threesome before. And I was like, you know what? Let me just get two of my good friends and let's just try it. Fuck it. And it just wasn't my thing.
Right. Well, people want to put everyone in a box. You know, the way the brain assimilates and tries to figure things out is to say, well, that's what you are. Okay. And that's what you are.
Compartmentalize.
It's compartmentalizing.
Yeah.
And, you know, going back to the Slut Walk, the purpose of the gay pride parades was to sort of even the scale. There was so much shame attached to being gay. The gay movement decided, well, let's have a march to sort of
take it back, like reclaim it.
Take it back and sort of even the scale. Of course, it eventually turned into just a party.
Yeah, capitalism.
Capitalism a party. How are you going to try? How are you going to avoid that same sort of falling into just a party? Or is that okay?
I'm cool with that. Because you know what? I'm going to tell you why. Because listen, you know, at the end of the day, there is a lot of deep rooted issues for women, right, that we deal with. And we protest against that, right, when we walk. But for the rest of the day, it's a celebration of women as well. Last year, we involved the LGBT community because there's a lot of gay men, transgender, male to female, that do get raped and sexually assaulted constantly.
Oh, honey, the statistics are out of control.
And they don't go to the police because the police are going to be like, well, you just had an orgy 3 days ago and now you're raped.
But that
today.
happens with women too, not just trans women.
No, of course.
You know, you're at a
of
club and the
course.
police come and you're dressed the way you're dressed. They look at you like, oh, and you didn't want that attention.
Well, but the thing of it is, though, is what people don't understand, right, is that I can have sex with 5 guys tonight, right? And next week I'm being raped by someone, right? And so with the authorities, a lot of authorities say, well, we found out that you had, a gangbang the week before, and now all of a sudden this guy, one of the guys, wanted to have sex with you the next week.
Right.
I didn't want to have sex with him next week. I didn't want to. He forced himself on me. Rape is rape, regardless if you had sex with them before.
Correct.
Consensually.
Could be a husband.
But the sex shaming, you bring up the point of sex shaming, like we use that against politicians to slam them, like teachers.
Yeah.
Someone's sex life is the biggest weapon.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, like we love using that against people.
Well, that's why, some of the best political minds in the world have been kept out of that field because of sex or drugs. Although, strangely, none of that affected Donald Trump. What is that? That's crazy. I don't know. And it's interesting. We were talking about the Slut Walk a minute ago. Amber Rose's foundation, that nonprofit that convenes once a year in downtown LA. I believe it's downtown LA.
Yes.
The first Saturday of October. You guys also host Lovelines. Where can people find Lovelines?
They can go to play.it.
Spotify.
Yeah,
iTunes.
Amber Rose, lovelinewithamberrose.com as well. And then, iTunes, podcasts.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, a lot of the things we talked about had to do with really kind of changing the molecular structure of the way people think. And in a lot, it's a very tall order to get people to change or deconstruct their whole belief system. What's the first thing a person can do to sort of approach that concept?
This is big. We used to, family and school used to be the number one socializer. And thankfully, it's not now, social media. So I tell people, if you don't like your body, if you don't like some aspect of yourself, take a look at social media. What are you following? Because our brains are nothing but the social media we're embedding in it.
Sponge.
So if you show me your phone and I look at your apps, your Facebook, what you're following, what you're following on Instagram, that tells me your psyche. And so unfollow things that make you feel bad or aren't representing who you are.
That's very smart. That's very smart.
And also,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. And also, let's kind of think for ourselves, right? Because, for example, if a guy takes you out on a date, right? Takes you to the movies, out to eat, get you popcorn, hot dogs, stuff like that. Let's say in New York City, it's about $300, right? So then what is the difference for a guy to say, hey, I'm going to give you $300 and I want to have sex now, right? At the end of the movie and the dinner, you had sex with him anyway. Society will tell you that is wrong. You can't just have a quick Well, you just can't have a quick transaction, right? Because then you're a slut and you're dirty and, that's gross and it's prostitution. But if he takes you out to eat first and you have sex that night, it's almost like not... Society will say that's the right way to actually do it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. But what is the ideology that keeps that system in play? I mean, when you really tear it down and deconstruct that whole concept, what keeps it in play? Is it that it's a way for the ego to feel power over someone else? It's like you want to put someone else down so that you can feel good about yourself. Is that what we're really talking about?
I think it's heteronormativity.
Yes, this is the way we were raised.
We live in a world where we believe that the family and a man and a woman and kids are the center, center point of everything.
Yeah.
And anything that supports that or comes from that is healthy, and anything that challenges that is unhealthy.
It's the way we were raised. It's the way our parents were raised. It's the way their parents were raised. It goes back to fucking 1492. It goes back to what is right and what is wrong. It's our constitution. Things need to change.
Well, I tell my patients, and I have a book out, Sex Outside the Lines, and my book is about radically ripping apart gender. I'm a fan of what you said. I don't support diagnostics or labels. I tell everyone to have no labels in terms of sexual orientation or gender. But one thing I talk about is that we love the model of dinner or coffee date first, then maybe physicality. And I say you can go in the inverse as well, which is we at some point have to explore all levels of compatibility. And if you want to start the sexual, physical, affectional, that's cool too. Because in my personal life, some of my longest, most deeply full of love relationships started with sex first and was supposed to be sex only. The compatibility and chemistry was there. And I said, hey, let's spend more time together. And then we explored the other levels.
I agree.
And years went by.
I've been married for nearly 20 years because of sex on the first date.
Yeah, you don't have to follow that heteronormative model
No.
of like dinner first, must delay sex to show true interest. Like someone wanting to have sex first could be a sign of full-on interest. Because for me, I want to explore that because sex is really important.
And yes, Drew, it does go back to the ego. It goes back to the way ego was programmed by mom and dad saying, you can't do that. That isn't right. Maybe they're worried about it'll reflect on them. I was the biggest hoe. You know this.
Everybody knows that. Yes.
I wish I had known that I could charge back then. Fuck the coffee. Take your fucking coffee.
Yes.
Give me $300 because I would turn you out right now,
just
bitch.
put the money right in my pocket.
All of them.
It's true.
If I had known, I was into one night stands. I was into alley sex, cars over a stick shift. I didn't give a shit.
Where were you? I would have married you.
New Jersey.
Where were you? I was
New Jersey.
in Philly. You were too far
so
away. That
close.
bridge, just a bridge away.
Yes.
But to go back to the ego thing, I would say our ego is nothing but social media. Our social media and our ego are now fused
in our brain.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so really zero in on what TV shows are you watching? What covert messages are they giving you about how to be in the world? What magazines are on your coffee table? What social media are you looking at? You are feeding your psyche that.
So
we also were talking about last week on our podcast how all the Disney
the princess thing.
Princesses, did you see that?
No, I didn't. No.
Okay, so they basically all cater to a man. Every single movie
about
was like, it was about getting a guy. You have to get Prince Charming. You have to wake up out of your fucking coma.
Be traditionally feminine and pretty.
Although Mulan was an ass kicker.
Holla.
Yeah. But that's an interesting thing too, because Michelle and I were talking about girl groups and how it's hard for me to invest in girl groups because they always break up so much. And Michelle was in a very famous girl group. She was in Seduction. It takes two to make a thing go right. Well, but what happens is when you put a group of women together, if they've been domesticated through the princess ideology, the idea is to get that man, to get that prince. So there's a lot of infighting with women in these groups like this.
Well, I know why you broke up now. I know the story of why Seduction broke up.
I was stealing your man.
Okay, just drop that.
Yeah.
But it's
true, though.
It's an interesting thing. And I grew up in a house full of women. I'm very familiar with that thing. Why is it that women will sabotage other women? Why is that?
That's the age-old question, darling.
I don't know. I think it's it could be jealousy, envy,
insecurity,
monogamy.
I had a friend that like we were roommates when I was younger, and she would be like, straight up, Amber, I got this dude coming over. I'm gonna need you to go in your room and do not come out. And I'm like, but why? Like, you don't want me to say hi to him? What's wrong? And she's like, bitch, no, I don't want him to see you and like you and not like me.
Right.
Insecurity.
And I remember, flat out said that to me. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I'll go in the room. I was like 18, and I'm sitting there thinking about it. Like, I wouldn't do that to her.
Right.
Because if he's going to fuck you or you're going to fuck him,
I
don't need to be your friend, and I damn sure don't need to be with him.
Because you're secure. I had the most gorgeous, when I worked in the strip club, I had the most gorgeous friends in the world, and I lived with them. And I was so proud of them.
Yeah.
When I went out, I was like, look at my gorgeous friends.
Mm-hmm.
It's security.
Yeah. Right.
I'm not saying I'm the most secure person in the world, but one place I'm not secure, I am secure, is with my beautiful friends. And if I think my husband's gonna fuck with them, then I'm not in the right relationship.
Right.
Say that again.
That's what it comes down to. If you are looking at somebody else, then I am not in the right relationship.
Right.
But I blame a systems. Like I've said a second ago, I blame monogamy in marriage. I don't think that they're inherently bad, but they are difficult to do, and they give us the message that you can only find one person and you have to be with them forever. And that causes a lot of panic and anxiety.
True.
Because that's not a theory of bounty and wealth. It's a theory of scarcity.
Yes.
And you have to find that one, and you better hold on because it's forever.
Right.
If we lived in a culture, which we are moving towards polyamory and open styles fast.
Good.
There's a health net, yes.
I would
but what will
love
happen
two
is
boyfriends.
there will be
That
no
would be
more
so good.
panic. Because there's always room for more, and you can distribute and outsource.
Yeah.
But we're moving toward, but we're not there. I had two boyfriends at one point.
You're
and the
so lucky.
Well, no, because with it,
More work.
It is more work,
Yeah.
but it's also.
Did they know about each other?
They did know about each other, but it was never cool. It's New York City. It was never cool. It was like one time passing in the hallway, and I was like, oh, fuck. This is like, he knows I just fucked him, and he's going to come, and I'm going to fuck him now. There's that feeling of insecurity of what are they saying to each other
You were
in the
stacking.
hallway.
You were stacking.
I was.
Look, come on. Every slut knows don't stack.
To be fair, I was
Michelle,
19 or
101,
20.
come on.
I got caught out
All
there.
right.
And they were passing each other in the hall. And I was like, shit. This moment's happening. The thought of it is great, but I am not cut out for that.
Sure.
Well,
I am not.
You were like a therapist.
I was.
You just had
Just using
the
my
Sex therapist. She was
Yeah.
a sex therapist.
I was the catalyst. I was
Scheduling
the
problems.
medium.
Yeah.
But it's not easy to do those things. And polyamory to me is exhausting.
Of course,
I
yeah.
couldn't even handle two.
More responsibility, more compassion, more relational management.
And you're just
for
giving
sure.
of yourself, not just physically.
And that's why there's a lot of
emotionally.
transformation. The clients I work with that can pull off polyamory and open relationships have a lot of security. They have really good communication skills. So they can talk about and process jealousy, which will arise for anyone, and also managing that responsibility. Because this is what I say. If you can't pull off one healthy relationship, you are not ready for more than one.
Right. But if you were going to do that, though, it would be smart to not stack and to make sure that the others, just to be polite, to not cross. To make sure that they're separate.
Didn't have cell phones back then.
No, but that's why I asked if they know about each other, because that's my ideal situation, right? I have 2 boyfriends. They're cool. We're all snuggling in the bed together, watching a movie. I'm in the middle.
That didn't happen.
You know, like that's the type of moment I want. You know,
they were separated. It was this one. I had time with this one, and I had time with this one.
Yeah,
they
I
weren't
want
all
them
about,
together.
Yeah,
we all go out to eat together. We go bowling.
That's a throuple.
Yes.
Yeah. Everybody pulls out their Amex card to pay the bill at the same time. Yeah. Now, Dr. Chris, when clients come to see you, what's the number one issue? Without giving anything away or breaking anonymity, what's the number one issue people come to ask you about?
I'll collapse into 2 things. Number one, if it's a couple, it's always if it's a couples in sex therapy, it's usually mismatched sexual desire in terms of like one person wants more sex than the other one. And then the generalized issue though that everyone comes in with is, am I normal?
What do you mean, am I normal?
Is the way I'm being in the world, is the things I'm thinking, are the things I'm turned on by, am I normal? Am I okay?
Oh, I see.
Is it okay that I like to have this kind of sex? Is it okay that I want this kind of relational style? Is it okay that I have the body I have? So a lot of people think, sex therapy is fixing sex. And actually, no, it's me actually telling people they're okay the way they are.
And what's normal anyway anymore?
Well, that's the thing. I tell them normal is actually not the goal.
Right.
Because what's normal in our culture is a whole list of unhealthy isms.
Right.
And so I tell them, be more confident in who you are. And so clearly that's easy said than done, but that's what the work is people saying like, I want to feel okay with who I am. And
right.
So I do a lot of liberating.
How do people find you?
Well, I mean, I do some media stuff.
But he's finding a therapist just a therapist in general is also. It's trial and error, though, isn't it?
It really is. Most therapists aren't doing that great of work because they haven't worked on themselves. They suck.
Do you have like a website where people can go on and get an appointment with you?
I mean, here's the thing. Yeah, but you have to live in LA because I work weekly. I'm taking a hiatus from my practice for a couple months to do some self-care and to work on my next
You're
book.
transitioning?
Yeah, I'm transitioning.
Do you do Skype appointments?
It's going to be a really big fall, Rue. It's going to be a big fall.
Do you do Skype appointments and stuff like that? Or no?
I don't offer that. Yeah. Right. So basically all I can offer people, and it sounds like not a lot, but I do it to try to help. Read my book, Sex Outside the Lines. Go on my social media. I work really hard to curate, post, and I do little Instagram videos that just try to make people feel okay with who they are, normalize what they're going through. I really support body diversity, gender diversity. So you go to my social media.
Yeah. Can a person, though, change what they like? Can you? Because a lot of the fetishes or the sort of secret little things that turn a person on happen in childhood. Remember in that movie Blue Velvet where he cuts a piece of her blue velvet and he puts some oxygen. He puts the oxygen, and you're thinking, what created that?
Right.
Well, we're learning that just like our brains, we used to think that when you're in your early 20s, your brain solidifies and doesn't grow anymore. Our brains are plastic our entire life. They're always changing. Relationship and novel experiences change our brain. Our sexuality is a little more plastic than we thought. And I look at my own. The things I'm now turned on by in terms of the genders I date and have sex with and the things I like were not there when I was a child.
We talked about that.
They've been folded
I feel the
in
same
as
way.
I've had
There's things that turn me on now that would have never turned me on.
Really?
Before.
100% body types for me, men that I would have looked at 10 years ago and been like, are you kidding me?
But some of it is,
I
and the
feel the same
question
way.
might be like, is it that was it there, but we now have the confidence to acknowledge it? I don't know, but I know that I was allowing myself to date people that were trans. I never would have been okay with that in the past.
But also trans wasn't a thing when we were growing up.
Well, that too, I agree with
They
that.
were always around,
Wholeheartedly.
but they were never
Yeah.
in our consciousness.
And pornography now gives us a more diverse set of things
Which is
to
wonderful.
find and enjoy that we didn't know about.
And I've never been attracted to like distinguished white men. Cause my dad is like really white and like military, and my dad's extremely good looking, but I was just like, they kind of like reminded me of my dad, and it was weird.
It freaked you out.
Yeah, it was just weird. But now I find myself extremely attracted to white men, even older white men. So it just changed over time. It's kind of like the food that you eat too.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So like, it's funny because I'll go back and I'll be like my friends out here, I'm like, yo, I'm gonna take you to Philly. I'm gonna get you this cheesesteak. It's gonna be amazing. But then I go back and eat the cheesesteak that I grew up on, and I'm like, this is fucking gross.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I used to eat this shit every day. And it's disgusting. It's just not my thing anymore. And
I hear you.
I feel about it.
We got Dr. Chris and Amber Rose. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. I cannot tell you how helpful having a therapist for all these years has helped me evolve as a human being on this planet. I probably wouldn't be sitting here today.
I was just going to say, I'm not sure if I'd be here.
Yeah. No, and now it's available to really anyone who wants it, wherever you are. Talkspace allows you to have a therapy session wherever you are, whenever you want.
I love the idea of this. I love this because there's so many people out there, a lot of kids, a lot of people in their 30s who are still struggling, and they come to me with it. I'm like, guys, I wish I could help you, but I'm not. In my mind, I'm a therapist, but I'm not a qualified therapist. And that's what's so great about Talkspace is you go to Talkspace.com. This is how it works, you guys, /Ru, or you download their app. You're then going to speak with a Talkspace therapist representative where you're going to find out, they're going to ask who you are, your goals for therapy, what you want to get out of it, which is a goal.
Sure.
Then you're going to pick a plan and be assigned to a therapist that best fits your need. Now, at Talkspace, you don't just have a professional that you see once a week, but someone right at your fingertips to be there for you constantly when you need it, and someone you can always talk to. Because when you pay for therapy, you don't get all that.
No, you have to set up an appointment, and you have to save it up and wait till you see your person.
I was going to say, and that's it. You better write some cliff notes.
Sure, yeah. Well, with Talkspace, that's not you get to talk to your person when you want to.
Right in your pocket, baby.
I love it.
Right in your therapist in your pocket.
Oh, that's nice.
So for $30 off your first month, go to Talkspace.com/Ru, or you can download the Talkspace app on the Apple or the Android, and use that offer code RU. With Talkspace, you're never alone, and I love to talk to you all. I'll be your therapist, but I can absolutely not guarantee it's the right direction you
well,
should
you
be
do
going.
you have a lot of good advice, but something tells me it's because you've had a lot of therapy.
I mean, you can only talk like that. Like you too.
Yeah.
We can only talk like this because we've had the therapy.
Sure.
And with Talkspace.com, you could have the therapy right now yourself. Because you know what? In some of these cities, these people don't know where to go.
I know. I couldn't imagine how to go out and find a therapist. Well, 300,000 users already know that Talkspace is the way to do it.
Yes, you guys. So $30 off your first month. Go to Talkspace.com/Ru and get the help you need now.
We are back with Amber Rose and Dr. Chris. They host Loveline, which is available as a podcast in lots of different areas, and they've got books and everything. Now, Amber, I mentioned earlier that you get stopped a lot, and I don't know if I got the answer from you. How do you cleanse yourself of taking on all of these people's energy? Because you're so recognizable. People flock to you for obvious reasons. How do you sort of cleanse your psyche of taking on all this energy?
Well, I think about the positive that I have now, because for a long time, I'll be honest with you, I hated being famous. I didn't necessarily ask for it. It kind of just happened for me. And so for quite a few years, I was like, you know what? I really just want to be normal. I want to go back to Philly. I want to be a regular girl again, where I was cool with everyone. Everyone loved me. I was a ball of sunshine. And now, people hate me, and I got people that say mean things about me. And, yes, I have money now. I get to travel more because I have money, but everything else in my life is kind of very negative. I get a lot of negative energy. So what I started doing is I started not giving a fuck. And that actually helped me a lot.
There you go.
So to do that, I literally wake up in the morning and I say, I don't give a fuck. I really don't give a fuck about all this negative shit. I don't give a fuck about you, or you. And I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want that makes me happy.
That's very zen, actually.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's really brilliant. And what do people ask you when they do come up to you in the airport or whatever? What's the number one question you get from fans or people who stop you?
I don't usually get questions over there. They usually tell me stories when I'm out. But I would say on my talk show and on the podcast, I get, am I gay? Right? So it's usually guys, right? That want some type of butt play, right? In very heterosexual relationships, they ask, does that make me gay because I want my ass played with? Or the girls will call and say, my boyfriend wants his ass played with. Is he gay? And right, Dr. Chris, we get that constantly all the time. And what we tell people is that if it's a man and a woman, then it's not gay.
Right.
Yeah, whatever
very simple.
heteros do is hetero.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
just
I know plenty of hetero couples where the man likes to be
Yeah,
pegged.
Very advanced.
Absolutely.
It's very
So,
advanced. Yeah.
I know it's advanced, but it's
great.
still he doesn't identify as homosexual.
No.
He identifies as straight.
Just because
What
you
a
get
lot
your
of-
ass played with
that's
as a
it.
man, it does not make you gay.
And a lot of women miss out on the fact that men have a prostate and we do not.
Wait,
Right.
let me as a male-bodied person say that an orgasm with prostate stimulation is like rocket ship.
Yes.
There's nothing that compares to that.
And we don't have it, women. So if men want it, it doesn't make them gay. They have a little G spot
Yeah.
in their butthole.
But the crazy thing that Amber's pointing out is that like a lot of the questions we get, are about people being afraid of being seen as gay.
Right. The
Homophobia
shame.
runs rampant.
it's,
shame.
it's sad.
Because I've always thought, if it's funny how your finger fits into your ear and into your nose. There are certain logical aspects to the human body.
You're right.
And there are, erogenous zones that are similar taboo, and the butt is taboo. I remember the first time I had a high colonic, there was the build up to going there was so much, and I had to examine, what is that? Well, it's shit shame. We have so much shit shame. And I remember after I finally did back that ass up for a high colonic, I was like, what took me so long?
Did the technician stay in the room?
She did stay in the room, and someone sent me to this woman in West LA, and it was this very Zen sort of atmosphere with incense and candles, and it was an Asian woman who was very calming and soft lights, and she was very gentle, and it alleviated my shit shame when I had this. Amber, have you ever had a high colonic?
I had one once, yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
It felt very weird.
No, there are two different kinds. There's the kind where the tube stays in you and does all the work, and there's another horrible one
Where you have to hold and release and hold
where
on.
you have to hold and release, which is just so humiliating. I don't. Again, I'm
In
back
front
to
of
the
like the doctor.
instead of the technician. Yeah.
I like when the technician stays in.
I want the
Yeah,
technician.
I want her
stay
to
in.
talk. Just tell me what's coming out. I can see it, but I want to know.
Well,
But see, only do the one where the tube does
two
all the
tube,
work.
yeah.
It's the two tube. They have the water is coming in one side, and then the evacuation.
The sucker outer.
Yes, I was putting it in a more
Sucker
clinical
outer.
way. The evacuation happens in another tube,
Yes.
and I remember when she put it. She said, I'm going to let you guide it in for when I first did it, and I said, Is it in?
right.
Oh wait, that's a whole nother story.
What do you
We could do a lot with that.
Because I knew when it was in.
Yeah, she was like,
Just
and we're using
saying.
the large tube. We're using the extra large.
We need the
hose."
garden hose for this one, fellas.
Oh shit.
It was great though, but I wish I could have. I wish I did them more often.
I wish I had a
Yeah, me
home.
too.
a home
Yeah.
version
I've
of
had
it.
I've
had two done, and it was about a decade and a half ago. It's been a long time. You're
Oh,
getting
it's
it back
time.
in my head.
You got
Yeah.
some Tonka trucks
yeah,
up there.
right?
Yeah.
Well,
I remember her just saying, lay on your side.
Yeah.
She lifted my one butt cheek
Uh-huh,
up, lubed it up,
Yep.
and was like, boop.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I was like, oh, okay. But it was quick, and it was kind of like, all right. And then I didn't really feel it, but then the water filling up in my
Yeah.
stomach,
I thought it
I
was gonna
didn't like
explode.
that.
You didn't like that. No.
It's
Bec-
uncomfortable, but when
Yeah.
you release
when
it,
you it release when it evacuates, it feels really good, and afterwards you feel like
Lighter.
lighter. And I didn't want to eat any crappy food afterwards because the theory is
because you're like, I'm clean now.
I'm clean now.
I'm pure.
The theory is that gum you swallowed at 7 is still in your colon.
That's what they
Right.
say.
That's what they say, but that's not true. What happens is your body actually does evacuate all that stuff, and your body can naturally do it. I just like backing that ass up.
I heard.
Because you nasty. Right?
I'm nasty.
But here's another question. Do you have a squatty potty?
Are you
Yes,
kidding me?
we do.
I love that we're talking about this.
We've got one in every. I've got
Game
one in
changer?
every single room.
I don't have one.
My daughter. This is how it happened. It's the sponsor for our podcast.
Yeah.
This is how it happened. I walked into my 16-year-old daughter on the toilet, sitting with her feet on the toilet seat in like an M position. I was
Yes.
like, well, are you giving birth?
Yeah.
And she said, well, I like pooping this way. It comes out easier. I was like, I'm going to get you a squatty potty.
Yes.
And that's how it started. And I've got one now in every single room because that's the position we are meant to poop in. I can't enema myself. I'm scared to death to enema myself. So I do colonics, but having something like a squatty potty changes your life.
So when you go to a place that doesn't have a squatty potty, you notice the difference. You're like, this poop is not-
100%.
Wow.
So I'm watching Shark Tank. right? And I see the squat. So when they first start talking about it, you know, Shark Tank, they have to, you know, they're entrepreneurs, right? They explain it. And they're like, yes, you're in every part of the world besides us, people squat and poo.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so they did that. And then
for birth too, honey.
for birth as well.
Yeah.
And I was going to do that, but my son was breech. But
Mine was 10 pounds, so I didn't do shit.
mine was 9 too. But so I seen it on Shark Tank and I was like, that's really interesting because I feel like sometimes I need to kind of move around,
untwist your intestine.
Yes, and it's so horrible. So I got a squatty potty up in my room, and it's fucking amazing, Dr. Chris. You have to get one.
The first time I saw one was at the high colonic place because after you've finished with your high colonic, they send you into the restroom to evacuate whatever what's left, you know. And see how I know the technical terms.
You do.
Yeah,
you do.
And so that's the first time I saw it. And I have one.
You have a
They
bedazzled.
sponsor you. They
Bedazzled.
sponsor you. You said.
Yeah.
They're one
So
of our
can you
sponsors.
send me one and like write a little message for me on
absolutely
it? So when
will.
I look down, there's like a little RuPaul.
But here's the
personalized-
question, Dr. Chris.
Here's looking at you.
Thinking of you.
Thinking of you.
Well,
But
shit, I
here's
want
the
another one
question.
too.
Do you want 7 inches or do you want 9 inches? You get to choose.
I got
I go-
9.
I-
You have a 9 one.
I go big, babes. So.
Good, 9 inches.
Let's do
See,
it.
the 9 inches puts my knees too high.
Yeah,
I swear to
But they're
God.
holding the boobs up?
Because
Well,
I'm
you're still
little.
short,
I'm
yeah.
5'4", so for me, my knees go, wah.
Yeah.
So 7 inches does me just fine.
Well, see, you know, everything we're talking about is so helpful because I think communication is the key to this in terms of the way we see sexuality, the way we see our bodies, the way we poop, all of those things. We have so much shame surrounding, and shame is a killer. It is a killer. And when we have a voice, all of us have a platform to where people listen to us. These are the places where we can really change some attitudes and loosen it up, sort of to give our culture a high colonic.
Loosen that stool right up.
Loosen that stool right up. And I think it's a very courageous thing that we do. I'm speaking for all of us right
Yes,
now.
I agree, Ru.
It's very, and you have a child. You have the opportunity. Both Michelle and do you have any children, Dr. Chris?
I don't.
You guys have children. You have the opportunity to shape their minds.
Program them right.
What program?
I don't think you understand the conversations that me and my son have. I keep nothing from my baby.
Great.
Nothing. So I have a C-section scar, right? And he sees it because I'm naked in front of my kid all the time. And he's like, "Mommy, what's that?" And I was like, "Oh, this is where you came out of mommy's belly." And I was like, "Well, you were supposed to come out of my vagina, but you were actually going to come out butt first. And the doctor said that you can't come out butt first. They have to cut my stomach open and take you out that way." So crazy, right? We're out, you know, in public, and literally my son talks about vagina all the time now.
I love it.
Because he just likes the word.
I love it. That's him waving at us right now.
And he looks just like you,
He's
Amber.
so beautiful.
Like you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But you know, that's the thing. I mean, so many of us, and I came into the world, I didn't know, and I had to learn for myself. My parents kept their mouths closed. Here he comes now. Wait,
He's locked out.
yeah, he's locked out. But no, I think it's great because we don't have the tools in life that our parents really should have
It's
sent
up
us
to
out.
us.
Right.
It's up to us
Yeah.
to educate them. They're going to learn stuff from their friends in school, but it's up to us to teach them right for wrong, but also to expand
So wait,
their
let me
mind.
drop
That's
a doctor.
his
Let me
bedtime
drop
story
a doctor
every night,
joke.
by the
I
way.
love it that you came out of mommy's belly.
It's
All
adorable.
that. Yeah. And I also tell him, so I'm on the toilet, right? Got my period, right? My son is on my hip constantly all day. Sorry, he's screaming in the background right now. I don't know if you can
Because he
hear
wants
him.
to come in.
Yeah, he wants to come in. But you know, he's with me in the bathroom and I have my period and he's like, "Mommy, are you okay? You're bleeding. Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yes, honey. It's mommy's period." I explain that I get it every month.
Yeah.
That I get it for like 5 days. This is a tampon. This is a pad. So now he's 4 years old. I say, "Hey, honey, go over there and get mommy a tampon." He knows exactly where to go. I say, "Only women have their period. You're not going to have your period." And he's 4 years old. So after the podcast, you can test him and ask him about all that. He's going to have the full clinical story behind it. And he knows everything. And I just feel like to educate your kids with everything and don't make it weird for them.
Right.
No,
because
it's
boys
us.
get
It's
older and they're
parents.
like,
When
"Oh,
we pass
period."
shame on, And so I always say to parents, whatever it is you're uncomfortable talking about, you're going to instill shame in your child about that
Correct.
topic. So where the shame is where the work is.
That's
Whatever
right.
you have shame about, that's what you actually need to be leaning into and talking about.
My kids have been in therapy, and I'm not trying to be like, but my kids have been in therapy since they were 5 and 7.
Okay.
Because I saw things starting as a former eating disorder person. I saw things starting, and I have a daughter with severe clinical depression. So she started that signs of that early on. I'm not saying that everybody could afford, everybody should be. Some insurance allow it. Luckily, mine did at the time. Good therapy really helps, but good parenting changes their lives.
Yeah. Well, knowledge is power, and
Yes.
darkness cannot survive in the presence of light. Show your child the light, and show your friends. And that's what Lovelines, your podcast, what we do on our podcast. That's what the purpose is, and to share with our friends.
Yes.
So,
And let
hey,
them
you
know
guys,
they're not alone.
thank you so much for
Thanks for
being
having
on
us.
this
Thanks for
podcast.
having us, you
Thank
guys.
you.
Great. I did your podcast, and you guys can find it on Lovelines on iTunes and
Play.it.
Yes.
iTunes.
Spotify.
Yeah.
Yes.
Loveline with AmberRose.com as well.
And then there's the Slut Walk that's coming up in October.
Yeah, it should be October 7th as of right now. But we're working on a venue because last year our capacity was reached probably by 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh my goodness.
So I think that we're kind of past capacity right now. So we need to find a new venue.
Yeah, maybe Santa Monica, maybe the Santa Monica, maybe Venice Beach or.
Well, ideally, we're trying to get Santa Monica Boulevard where they have the gay parade and the AIDS walk.
Yeah.
It's extremely expensive. So if there's any sponsors out there that want to help me with Slut Walk, and kind of go ahead and pay for that, that would be
Great.
bills.
That would be great.
right.
Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
And it was a pleasure. And Michelle, until next time.
Bye.
Can I get an amen? If you can't love yourself, how in the hell you gonna love somebody else? Can I get an amen?
And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes.
If you can't love yourself, how in the hell you gonna love somebody else? Amen.